Arcus was started late 2012, early 2013. Um, Went through YC in 2013, and ultimately pivoted multiple times. Went through the ebbs and flows of what building a business is, but wound up scaling the company to 110 employees, 250 customers. Became Arcus, one of the biggest payment platforms in all of Latin America, headquartered in Mexico, and wound up selling it to Mastercard in 2021. So about 8 or 9 years.
Welcome to the Immigrant Nation, Mr. Edrizio de la Cruz. Thank you for making the time for us. You have done what most people only dream of. And so I would be doing you a disservice to try and introduce you and tell people what you have done. I think it needs to come from the lips of the main host, Mr. Edrizio. Tell us why the Immigrant Podcast today.
Well, Martin, first of all, thank you for having me. Big fan of the podcast. It's an honor to share my story. So yeah, I can tell you my story, or I can just give you kind of short synopsis, however you want to
Let's
take it.
start with the synopsis.
Yeah, quickly. I'm a Dominican immigrant. Grew up in Harlem, Washington Heights. Uh, Traveled a long journey to get to Silicon Valley. Started a company, Silicon Valley, sold it to Mastercard. Then I joined Y Combinator as a partner, first Latino partner. And then I wrote a book called The Underdog Founder, um, which became a bestseller. And now I'm here.
Very good. Very good. So, you have a really good relationship with failure. You've
Yes. That's a great way to frame it. Yeah.
and so I want you to talk about your relationship with failure. But before you talk about your relationship with failure, tell us about the 33 times you were rejected in a row.
Yes, yes. So Martin's referring to the time when I was trying to get into investment banking. So the backstory on that is when I moved to Harlem from the Dominican Republic, I had my eyes set on becoming a pilot. I, I, I went to aviation high school. I joined the Air Force Reserve right after high school, and I started college on a track to becoming a pilot. But I had to drop out of both, unfortunately, to help my parents make ends meet. So I wound up working two jobs as an airplane mechanic, and I did that for the next 6 years of my life. So that's all I did. I was 22, 23, went back to college as the oldest kid in my school, city college at that, and have my eyes set now on Wall Street. And Wall Street banks don't recruit from city college, and they definitely don't recruit Dominican kids from the projects. So I definitely did not fit the profile of a white shoe investment bank. Uh, no one told me that, so I went out there and I knocked on every door once, twice, three times. There aren't 33 banks in New York, but it's 11. So I got thrown out or rejected by at least all of them three times. And it just I could not get past the door for some reason. I couldn't get that either that second interview or that follow up. Um, and I felt pretty bad because I felt like an imposter, like it was kind of a pipe dream. Like why would they take a shot on someone like me? So when I was finishing school in 2005, I was gonna graduate, and I was offered a job in operations. Operations is like the back office of investment bank. So think of investment bank as kind of this the front office, great salary trajectory, on track to $1 million salary. Operations, not as fancy, not as lucrative, completely different trajectory. And they gave me the offer, and I was like, well, that's good because the past 6 years of my life I've been an airplane mechanic working outside in the cold, midnight, working inside. It's a huge upgrade. And the offer was from Citibank, so I was going to work at that name bank. But I said to myself, Martin, if I take this job, I know that I will have settled and I will regret it the rest of my life. and I talked to them, and it was clear when I talked to them that my heart was not in it. I didn't have I didn't have any backup. I just said to myself, I'm going to regret this the rest of my life. So I wound up not taking it, and it was now March, and I graduated. I was going to graduate in May, so I was 2 months away from graduating without any jobs. And I said to myself, well, I'm going to go for it. And I wound up applying for an internship. And like, worst comes to worst, I'll make myself a senior. I'll stay an extra year in school. And I got it. I got the internship at UBS in investment banking. And once I got that, I was like, I am never going back. So sometimes it pays off to burn bridges.
Yeah. Isn't that all the time?
Yeah, I think you have to be tactful. You have to be tactful, and you gotta be thoughtful with how you burn bridges. And you gotta have principles in life. You gotta know what you stand
Okay.
for and what you want. And if you know and understand what you want, you understand what you're willing to sacrifice.
Tell us about you as a young man, as a kid, in the streets of Santo Domingo. If you look back, what were the foundations of who you have become from that life?
Yeah, I left Santo Domingo when I was 11, so I was fairly young. My life there was simple in a sense and complex in another. Growing up without my dad, didn't have a father figure, so I kind of had to figure my way out on my own. I was this chubby nerd in a land that couldn't do the things that most Dominican kids could do. Like, couldn't dance bachata, couldn't play baseball, couldn't talk to girls. I was definitely a fish out of water.
I can't tell by looking at you that you can't dance, right?
Now I can. Now I can.
Okay.
But back then I couldn't. I had 2 left feet, man. I just couldn't. So I felt very awkward, and I just felt like I just didn't fit in my own land. It was like a stranger in a strange land. So I always, but I love my mother, and that's why I decided to started my first entrepreneurship gig was selling guayabas in the streets. I would come home from school, I would pick them out of the tree in the back of my house. We had 2 of them. We had one that had pink guayabas, and the one had white guayabas. And I would sell them on the street. I would put them in a basket. With the basket, I would just, sell them. And with the proceeds, I would just use them to go buy candles at the supermarket, because we didn't have always electricity. So I'd buy candles sometimes. And that was my life, man. That was my life for first 11 years of my life. That's all I knew. I look at my daughter now, and it's very different upbringing. So it gave me a sense of humility and a perspective that I will never.
Okay, so there's 2 hidden things in what you just said, right? And so I'm gonna try and rephrase this so that it helps immigrants, right? The idea is you just said you look at your daughter now and you realize the difference between your upbringing and hers, and how easy life is for her. I have a friend of mine who says my kids have a soft life, right? And he's just saying they have everything that I ever dreamed I would have as a kid, and they don't see that. But you also, as a child, felt the need to step in and do what was necessary based on your circumstances to help your parents, even if it was just candles to keep the lights on during the night. What is the responsibility of immigrant parents today in whatever country they have migrated, especially when they're raising children that they have big dreams for, but the children don't understand or know the tough life and they live a soft life? How do we raise our children so that as they enjoy the soft life, they do not settle for mediocrity?
That is a fantastic, thoughtful question, Martin, and one that I ponder on. I would say daily. What is the right way of parenting your kid and creating a sense of artificial obstacles, if you will, when they're not there. Um, I don't have a perfect answer, but I do know that you know, uh, you know, the hottest, the hottest fires, forge the toughest steel, right? I believe that. I feel like the tougher things get, the more prepared and groomed you are for life. So I feel like it's our job as immigrant parents, and depending on your level, how comfortable you are in life, you have to kind of make up for that comfort by creating artificial discomfort.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I think about. Like, what is the best way to create artificial discomfort for my daughter, and in order for her to kind of give her the opportunity to develop that muscle on her own. Like you can't just tell the kid, oh, you should be grateful, or I had it this difficult when I was growing up. That's not gonna compute in their brain. You need to put them in a setting. So like, my daughter's 2, so she has a long way. But yeah, if your kid is older, perhaps if your kid is 11 or 12, perhaps they should start like working, and doing something, either at your office, or selling cookies, something entrepreneurial to put them out there, something where they have to get reject time after time. Yeah.
Okay, so let me push back. My son and daughter have coined this sentence: "Dad, you grew up at a different time. You did not have Wi-Fi. You did not have a computer. You did not have a watch. You did not have electricity. You did not have water." Okay, it's a different time, and maybe I do not want to be an entrepreneur, and maybe I just want an easy life, a soft life. As an immigrant parent, when do you stop back so that you're not pushing your children and pushing them away? And when do you push them so that you can push them hard enough that way they do not settle but can continue to become impactful human beings in our world today?
That's very, very smart, very clever. uh, uh, yeah. So that's a great question, Martin. I think you need to provide some context as far as like, yes, this is how you feel about me, but understand that this is exactly how your children will feel about you, and this is how I felt about my parents. Like, it's just a
Okay.
cycle. Like the anecdote of you were working at you grew up in different times, that holds true forever. So it doesn't really hold much weight. We just provide that sense of the context. Um, but again, I go back to the principles. Like I publish a book, The Underdog Founder, and one of the things I talk about, I dedicate an entire chapter to the concept of grit.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole notion of being resilient, and how that is the number one trait in founders. Actually, I went through Y Combinator in 2013, and one of my mentors was Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI. And I asked him point blank, like, what do you think, Sam, is the single most important trait in a founder? You've seen a bunch of founders. You've been a founder yourself. This is back in 2013. He tells me, like, and I told him, like, is it intellect? Is it like technical chops? And he's like, no. Like, what I've seen is great founders have extraordinary, incredible, sickening resilience. Like, they're just gritty. Like, they just get punched in the face, they get knocked down, but they get back up every single time. And that always sat on my head. I didn't really quite appreciate that until 9 years later. I took the journey that I did, and wound up selling the company to Mastercard. And I feel like building that grit muscle, it's part of what we have to do as parents. We need to give our kids an opportunity to develop that grit muscle on their own.
Very good. What was life like initially for you when you migrated to the US?
Oh man, I remember I took the first flight. My brother and I. My dad picked us up at the airport. He drove a cab. He was driving a cab. My first time in New York, first time in the cold. and he drove us across the Queensboro Bridge. And if you've ever driven across from Queensboro to Manhattan at night, you see the lights, like, the Manhattan skyline kind of just lights up. It is one of the most majestic sites in the world. And me having grown up in Santo Domingo in a small barrio, this was everything to me, and I felt like I had arrived. But the next morning, I woke up in the South Bronx. So it was completely a rude awakening to what I had expected. And it was just kind of a quick dose of what reality was going to look like. You see broken glass, you see crack pipes, you see prostitutes, you see police just beaming down the street, chasing somebody. It was just kind of a very quick dose of reality. And when we moved from the South Bronx to Harlem, I thought I was going to escape, but it was just more of the same. More of the same. Learned a lot about gang culture and how pervasive it was in the early 90s in New York City, and how careful you had to be with what you say, what you wear, who you hang out with, what time you get out of school. I felt like I was always on high alert. Like that was my priority, was survival, and like that's all I care about. And many times I didn't get it. Like for me, just making it home okay was a success. Many times I didn't. Many times I would get jumped on the subway for my Metro card, or if I would go to after school, if I wanted to play, Street Fighter at a local grocery store, I would get. Many times I would just get punched in the face. Somebody wanted to put my, a couple quarters in my pocket, and that was just normal. Like that was just what I was exposed to early on. So I just became very guarded, very defensive very early on, and just had developed kind of a very tough shell, because I had to defend myself, had to defend my younger brother, and I just couldn't trust anyone. So like the first 4 or 5 years, that was my reality. And after I graduated high school, I decided to just get a job and save enough to help my parents buy a house in Queens.
Why was helping your parents buy a home a driving force for you?
It's a good question. I think part of me felt indebted. I felt grateful. My mother, was working. She's working a good job in Santo Domingo, and she left that, and I became very cognizant of that, even at an early age, the sacrifice that she had made. My dad was working 2 jobs. She was, driving a cab at night and working another job during the day. So I saw how hard they were working. And, when I got the job as an airplane mechanic, I thought, it was a good opportunity for an 18-year-old to make money. And I just worked my ass off, man. I would just work, 10, 20 hours a day, like no joke. And I would just get as much overtime as I could, saved a lot of money. And I just felt like it was my responsibility to help. Like it was now my turn. And I think that's very common in immigrant sons, like that degree of kind of servitude, degree of indebtedness towards their parents.
You've written 2 books. But before we jump into your books, how has your cultural perspective as a Dominican immigrant influenced your approach to business, entrepreneurship, and life?
Well, it's totally shaped most of what I do. So my only startup, Arcus, came from my immigrant experience. It was actually called Regali before, and Regali's purpose was to help immigrants send money back home in a quicker, cheaper way. The way we did that was, instead of sending cash, you would send gift cards, or you would pay bills back home. So you would kind of take over, financial responsibilities like paying gas, electricity, student loans, but from abroad. That was kind of the concept. And that's what, I wasn't necessarily interested in building a tech company. I was interested in solving a problem. I felt like as an immigrant, there should be a better way to take care of your loved ones back home. That was the whole thing that I wanted to do, and naturally became a tech company. And that's when I learned about technology. That's all about the accelerators, and I was fortunate enough to get into Y Combinator, which obviously just radically shifted my mindset on what entrepreneurship is.
Your parents seem to have played a significant role in your life. What was that role? How did your parents shape who you are going to become, Mr. Edrizio?
I just saw very early how much they hustle. Like my mother, when she got to the States, she worked as a babysitter, and she had another job as selling pots and pans. And I would go to her with her, um, knocking on doors. I was like 13, you know, and many times she would get rejected, or even when she didn't get rejected, she would go into these apartments, many of them like in the projects, by the way, like really dangerous stuff, and her carrying pots and pans in this rollaway, which is a big danger. And I would go in there like a man on a mission, trying to like help her, and I just saw her get rejected time after time after time. So I didn't get necessarily guidance from them as far as like you should go to college, you should become an entrepreneur, you can be a tech millionaire. I didn't get that kind of a guidance. I didn't get that conversation at dinner table of what was possible. I did see the hustle, and I did admire the hustle and admire the execution and admire like the ability to translate that hustle into putting food on the table. And I felt like I, being in New York, I felt like indebted to them, also indebted to like my community. Like nobody from my barrio, got to go to New York, so I felt like I was lucky. So I felt like I had to do big things.
It's very interesting. When we were looking back and trying to research you, I realized that you joined college, dropped out of college, and eventually got back to college. And this is where I started seeing that trail of you being able to master failure over and over again. Did you drop out of college because you lacked the resources to go to college, or you dropped out of college because there was a bigger mission behind you and your circumstances then that you wanted first to overcome before you could get back to school?
Well, I dropped out initially in 2000 because I just had to help my parents make ends meet. I was in a situation where we were living in Harlem. I was attending college of Aeronautics. I was at the same time at the Air Force ROTC,
Mhm.
and my mission then, and I was also flying. I flew Cessna out of Teterboro Airport. So my mission then was pretty clear. Was I'm on a 10-year trajectory to becoming a commercial pilot. And after a while, I felt like you know our life situation was not improving. I was gonna make money for a long time. I was going to the military, and I decided like, well, I can do that, or I can just pause this, make some money, and help my parents make ends meet. So I just wound up working my ass off for like a year, working two jobs as an aircraft mechanic and saving enough to put a down payment on a house in Queens. So again, I just felt like it was my responsibility to help my parents because they had done all this for me.
I have wondered, how do you make decisions as an immigrant, especially when you're surrounded by a lot of immigrants who are naysayers, um, and you're surrounded by multiple priorities. Sometimes it's taking care of your families in foreign countries. Sometimes it's prioritizing your goals to what you want to become. But when do you start choosing the right decisions, and how do you make those decisions?
It's a good question. Yeah, yeah. You do have a lot of priorities when you're an immigrant. Yourself, like you have, your family's split into two. You have your family, you're in a new country and you have your old family, so you don't forget about them. Hence, remittances plays a big role. Um, yeah, I think at the beginning. I had one foot in and one foot out. I always kept, thinking about the Dominican Republic, thinking about my family. But as I started getting exposed to more, and I think it was when I was late in college and I started learning about Wall Street and those opportunities, and my eyes just lit up, and I learned about the opportunities that existed that were not necessarily available to people like me, but I know they existed, and I know they were available to people that I knew. So I didn't need that much to give me an opening. So once I had exposure to that, I think I started kind of reprioritizing my priorities, and I felt like if I could do really well for myself, then I can take care of everyone. And luckily, that's ultimately what happened.
For those who are joining us at the Immigrant Nation podcast, we are speaking with Edrizio. He is a Dominican immigrant who grew up in Harlem. To make ends meet, he dropped out of college to work as an aircraft technician, but later returned to get his degree, worked on Wall Street, and an MBA from Wharton School. What led you, Mr. Edrizio, to starting Acres?
Yeah, Arcus came from my background as an immigrant. I was an immigrant from the Dominican Republic to New York. I used to send money back home when I came to the States. 20 years later, I did not see the process improved, and I wanted to start a company that would make remittances cheaper, faster, better for immigrants.
How long were you in business and what did that look like?
Arcus was started late 2012, early 2013. Went through YC in 2013, and ultimately pivoted multiple times. Went through the ebbs and flows of what building a business is, but wound up, scaling the company to 110 employees, 250 customers. Became Arcus, one of the biggest payment platforms in all of Latin America, headquartered in Mexico, and wound up selling it to Mastercard in 2021. So about 8 or 9 years.
Very interesting. Very interesting. So, with all that success, then followed the Underdog. Talk about your book, The Underdog Founder,
Yes.
and what prompted you to write the book. And if I was looking at the book today, what is the one thing you want me to take home?
Yeah. So what prompted the book? The book, it's meant as a letter to my younger self. It's a meant, and I got this advice from Junot Diaz, who's a Pulitzer Prize winner. He said, pick a single point of view. And my point of view was like me when I saw the company talking to my 21-year-old self. My 21-year-old self was a college dropout who felt his life was going nowhere. He was a college dropout on welfare, working 2 jobs as an airplane mechanic, who felt like his life was just not progressing. Things were happening for everybody else, but it was not happening for him. A person that felt like he was going to get stuck in this blue collar job for the rest of his life, and that was going to be it. I was 21, 22 when, at an age where most people were finishing college. I was not even in college, right? So I felt like I was way behind everybody else. And I think the key message is that in life you don't succeed in spite of your obstacles. You succeed because of them. Like they are there as a stepping stone to put you in the right direction, right? And that's kind of the synopsis of the book. It's called The Underdog Founder: How to Go from Unseen to Unstoppable. And I felt unseen for many years. And that's the message. The message to those people that feel unseen, that feel unheard, that feel like life isn't going their way for whatever reason. Like it's never too late to turn it all around. Like I did a huge pivot, like when I was, the oldest person in my school, the oldest person in my class, and I continue to do it time after time after time after time. It's never too late to turn it all around.
Beautiful. Tell us and our listeners, where can we find you on social media And how can we find your books?
Yeah, you can find the book on Amazon. Just look up the Underdog Founder. It's on Audible as well. And on social media, you can just look me up, Edrizio. I think there's only one Edrizio on LinkedIn. So look me up, follow me. I put up a lot of funny content on LinkedIn. So.
Mr. Edrizio, you started Acres. Why did you sell it after having so much success?
Oh, so it's opportunistic. When you start a tech company, you have to be opportunistic. We have raised a lot of capital. Venture capitalists are in here for returns, so that's a factor. I think it was a very attractive offer, and I think we were at that time that typically you run a company for 9 to 10 years and then you exit. So my co-founder and I were also quite fatigued. So it's a lot of different factors that came that made it the right time, right place.
When did you know you wanted to become your own boss? And what is it like to start a company? What was that experience like for you?
I think for me, it stemmed from solving a problem. That was the number one thing. I want to solve a problem. And I had this problem on remittances. I wanted to solve it. And then the whole notion of entrepreneurship became very attractive because I became very enamored with the whole notion of a mission of solving a problem for people that look like me. And entrepreneurship is attractive in the sense where you chart your own course. And I'm an Aries, so I like pushing through, and I'm very hard-headed in that way. So it became very symbiotic relationship with me and entrepreneurship. But also, like you said earlier, you have to have a symbiotic relationship not only with entrepreneurship but with failure. But failure and success are two sides of the same coin in entrepreneurship, except you're going to see way more of one side than the other. So I felt like I was ready. I didn't know what I was in store for, but I talk about the entire journey in the book, like how hard it hit me and how I thought I was right, but I was wrong big time. So it was a hell of a ride.
I speak with a lot of immigrants and have done that in the last so many years as an immigrant. And one of the things I hear from most immigrants is it is hard. It is hard being an immigrant. It is hard being a person of color. It's hard being tall. It's hard being short. It's hard. You obviously overcame the hard, and I understand hard is different for different people based on various circumstances. But how do you psychologically evolve or move yourself from your understanding of what is hard to making that what is hard possible?
It's a great question. Yeah. Many times we just see the forest and miss the forest for the tree. And the way I look at it, it's like, yes, it's a challenge. I don't disagree with that sentiment. It's like, okay, what aspects of that challenge can you minimize? There's multiple challenges, right? And then I think the way you need to kind of remove the emotion or minimize the emotion from the equation. I tell people when you come across challenges or you get rejected and things are not going your way, like feel all the feels. Like make sure you cry it out. Make sure you curse somebody out. Like let's do it. Go through it. Like purge your emotions. Yes. Once you're over that, then objectively look at all the entire landscape of the challenges you have in front of you and think about which ones you can reduce and which ones you can't. And then the ones you can reduce, you start attacking those. And the human brain is a magnificent thing because the human brain is wired to make you feel happy when you just see a little bit of progress. So like if you're dieting and you don't lose any weight for a month and then you lose 1 pound, you feel ecstatic. Right? So the human brain is wired to trigger dopamine every time you actually make some degree of progress. That's why they say progress equals happiness, right? So once you start doing that, all of a sudden you went from not moving forward to moving one step at a time. And then all of a sudden you start moving faster and faster and faster and faster. And then years pass and then you went from here to here just by rewiring how you think about challenges. And I think that's the only thing I had going. I wasn't smart. I wasn't the best looking. I wasn't the best network. I thought about challenges differently, and I just had a incredible work ethic, right? And I just felt like, and I started seeing this very early on, this whole notion of like, oh, I feel happy when I make just a little bit of progress. And that was like the game. The game was like, okay, I want to go from city college, from community college to city college. I want to go from being a mechanic to being an intern. I'm going to go from an intern to becoming an investment banker. I'm going to go from investment banker to get an MBA at business school. I'm going to go from business school to starting a company. And it just kind of like steps us. And I knew that if I just keep stepping in the right direction, opportunities that I didn't even think about were going to open up. And I talk about it in the book how much of success is formulaic. So I talk about that in the book. Especially for people that didn't grow up with means, it's like there's a formula for success, and I talk about exactly how to put that formula to work.
I I love how humble you are, right? You say I'm not good looking. Obviously, you say I'm not smart. You've been to Wharton. You say I have taken a step at a time, and look at how far you've come. The idea of looking at where you are in life and where you want to go in life allows you to start planning accordingly to be able to become an achiever or to have significant impact in life. Talk to immigrants about the process of thinking and planning to get to your objective.
I think planning and processing is quite key. I think you need to figure out first what drives you. What's your field. So in the book I talk about the first chapter is find your field, and I'm not talking about like, oh, I want to be an accountant or I want to be a banker. Like what really drives you. Why do you want to be an accountant? Why do you want to be a banker? And it took me years to figure out like what drove me was the sense of indebtedness towards a community, right? And I talk about this in the podcast as well, like just being able to make the transition from DR to New York and make all these transitions, from mechanic to banker and banker to entrepreneur, build a sense of indebtedness of like giving back. And I felt like that's the reason I could not quit Arcus, even when it got really hard. That's what fueled me. The sense of if I win, I can inspire other people. And I think humans are driven a lot by a lot of non-monetary factors, and one of which is the sense of being part of something bigger than themselves. Right? This is why cults are popular. This is why religion is popular. This is why politics is popular, because people are not doing it for the money. They're doing it because they're part of something bigger than themselves. So if you can attach yourself to a particular mission, that'll propel you.
How do you sell your community and your team to your vision, to your goals?
I wouldn't say necessarily I sell them. I say I provide a path or a vessel for education. And that's why the book is one vessel for education. I started a nonprofit called the Founder School, which helps underrepresented tech founders launch startups. That's another vessel. I poured everything that I learned from writing the book into that school. It's a 12-week incubator program. So that's another way. I just like providing vessels for people to educate themselves when you can't do it for them. So I think that's and now that I've seen the impact, that makes me really happy. It gives me a lot of gratification.
Mr. Edrizio, do you ever find yourself in conflict where your identity as a Dominican is in conflict with your identity as an American?
Yeah, I mean, all the time. I struggle a lot with it because there's very few people that I now in the social circle where I navigate that came from where I came from. Right, there's very few, and the people that I come from where I come from, I would think that would have some kind of special connection with them. I don't, so it's weird. So it's a very weird it's a very weird to navigate. You got to be a chameleon constantly, and you start like learning how to treat people kind of equally, really. I've hung out with people who grew up very wealthy. Like that's just the majority of my social circle now. So when I come across somebody that didn't grow up like that, like me, I treat them the same. It's like there's no difference. That's what I learned. I used to think that it was going to be the other way around, but no.
You've written two books so far. Are you working on writing a third one? What's your favorite book of the two?
Well, I've only written one book, but I've only written the Underdog Founder. I have not written it. But no, I'm not thinking about writing a second one now. Right now, I'm just focused on the nonprofit. That's kind of taking up my time, which is an extension in itself of the book.
Okay. What advice would you give to future immigrants who aspire to achieve success in the tech world or into entrepreneurship?
I say, the advice that I would give myself is, the obstacle is the way, right? Like, I think it's when you're signing up to become an entrepreneur, you're signing up to get 1,000 no's for one yes. But if you find your fuel and you define what drives you forward, and you develop, a very clear mission, then you too can go from unseen to unstoppable.
I wonder, as an immigrant, when you go out to places where sometimes you don't feel like you belong, does that give you a sense of loss, or do you get to a place where you say, okay, now I have to step up and represent the community I come from and represent the family that has surrounded me?
Right. So, I think this could be our last. But yeah, I feel like imposter syndrome is great because if you have a sponsor syndrome, you're in a place where you feel uncomfortable, you feel like less than. That means you are surrounded by people who you think are smarter than you, and that's a great opportunity to learn from those people. So whenever I feel imposter syndrome, it feels bittersweet because there's a sense of discomfort, but I also know in the back of my mind that I'm going to learn from these people, like they're ahead of me in some aspect, if I can just pay attention, right? And I talk about that in the book, like the whole motion of like learning by osmosis. It's very powerful.
Excellent. Mr. Edrizio, we're getting to the top of the hour. Before we jump off, is there a question you are hoping I would ask you that I did not ask you?
I mean, I think we covered everything. It's pretty thorough. Like, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share my story with your audience, and I hope that they find it valuable. And if you found this valuable, then don't forget to check out the book, Underdog Founder, on Amazon.
Excellent. Mr. Edrizio, we appreciate your time. We are so very grateful. You've been amazing. Please tell the 50 million immigrants across the globe that are listening to you where to find your book and where to find you on social media.
Yes, you can find the book, The Underdog Founder, on Amazon, and you can find me on LinkedIn. Just typing in Edrizio.
The one and only Edrizio on LinkedIn. Sir, we had a beautiful time. We enjoyed your conversation. We look forward to hosting you again. If there's anything at the Immigrant Nation podcast that we can do for you to help you succeed, please do not hesitate to reach back to us. We are here to serve you. Thank you for taking the time to be with us, and enjoy Miami.
Thank you, Martin. Cheers.
I appreciate you, sir. Thank you. Bye-bye.